Now you're at Heroku.
I'm at Heroku.
At a company that's gotten a whole bunch of buzz recently. Can you tell me what is Heroku and how does it play?
What Heroku is a Ruby PaaS provider. So Ruby Platform as a Service cloud provider. So if you've got a Ruby app and you're looking to deploy it to the cloud, you can come to Heroku and get it up.
And why Heroku? Where's that name come from?
The name is a combination, made up. So the Ruby community, I don't know if you know, but Ruby was invented by a guy in Japan.
Yeah, Mats,
exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, you are
in Matsutoya? No, where is he from?
You would, if you can even guess, you know more than I do.
Okay.
Japan.
Right.
But so there's a very strong Japanese aesthetic throughout the Heroku, throughout the Ruby community, and so when we created Heroku, we wanted to respect and emulate that aesthetic. So Heroku is a made-up word, and it's made up of two words. It's made up of hero, hey, everyone wants to be a hero, and haiku. So Heroku.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. So now, why Ruby? How did you pick that, or how did the founders pick this as the language they wanted to? Why not Perl? Why not Python? Why not PHP?
Right.
Blah blah blah.
Well, I think actually that question. There's a general question of like just how did you get to be here, and that comes from there's a number of things like why did you pick Ruby? Why did you pick cloud? Why did you pick deployment? And all these things are related. The three founders of the company worked together previously. They owned a consulting firm called BitScribe, and BitScribe was based out of Los Angeles, and they were focused on like the SWAT parachuting in and doing these really hardcore projects, and they were very agile development. And over the course of the life of the company, they started to adopt Ruby and realized how much more efficient they could be. So they really fell in love with Ruby from that aspect. But in creating the company and deploying these applications, they realized that you have agile development practices, and they're changing the way things work. But the deployment world was still stuck in the dark ages, if you will.
Interesting.
And so they wanted to create a company around agile deployment. And you need to combine, so if you're combining agile development with agile deployment, well, the most agile development language is Ruby, and Rails really was a big push there. And the most agile deployment, therefore, was Heroku in the cloud. And that's kind of how we got to where we are. We wanted to, and today we continue. I mean, it's amazing that 2 years in, our vision stays the same, where it's all about, great, it's wonderful you can create an app quick, but if you have to rely on an ops team that takes 6 months to get it out of there, you're screwed. So how can you go and actually get this into 6 seconds or 6 minutes and constantly out there? And what's fascinating is once you change this deployment to realizing how agile you can be there, once you can really deploy things quickly, the world changes. And you start thinking of things totally differently. You start realizing, oh, I'm just going to throw up an app for this, an app for this. I'm going to try things out. I'm going to see if it doesn't work. And all of the same benefits you get from agile development, right? Being able to throw things away, not fail quick, fail early. It happens all the way through the life cycle, and it just changes everything.
Cool. So who would be some of the people who are using this now? Are there corporations, individual developers? Who can you talk about?
Yes, please. All of the above. So Heroku has, I don't know, like what time is it? Well, we have either 38 or 39,000 apps. If you go to Heroku.com, we have a live counter on the site. So I'm not joking when I say right now as we're recording this, we're probably flipping over. So we have 39,000 apps on the platform, and that number is growing at the rate of like 700 a week. And of course, the second derivative is growing as well. So it's just insane right now. Who are those people? Everyone. Numerically speaking, if we broke it down statistically, the majority of them are hobbyists, so people who are just trying things out, putting up a blog. Financially speaking, if you broke it down by where we get our money, what it comes down to is a split between social media, and for that I mean I'll throw iPhone applications, Facebook applications, and Twitter applications into that bucket, and there's a whole ton of those. And then we do have some enterprises. We actually have a number of Fortune 20 companies even that running things on there. And often it's like that kind of same way Linux kind of came in on the bottom and no one ever knew about it. It's that kind of stuff where some developer somewhere had this thing, boss told him he had to get it done, and next thing you know, there's this amazingly high volume app running on Heroku, and hey, there you go.
So who would be some of the people doing things similar? Would it, we talked about Engine Yard just a second ago. Would they be doing, how is theirs different from what you're doing?
Yeah, so let me answer that question directly, and we can get it a little bit bigger, right? So directly, Engine Yard is a really interesting company. If you look at the problem set, is how do I take code and get it running? And there's different approaches you can take to that. Engine Yard took a I guess you could almost say a bottoms-up approach. They said, look, we have servers, and what we're going to do is we're going to give you management tools to manage those servers. So they have a chef-based configuration and a dashboard, and they do an amazing, it's a great product. They do an amazing job of letting you build these components together. So you're like, look, here's my source code, and I need two web servers and two SQL databases, and it'll configure this stuff using Chef automatically. But fundamentally, those concepts, you're working on an image by image, or VM by VM, or AMI. It runs on EC2, so AMI by AMI basis. We came at it from the other end. We came at it and said, an application is the canonical. We don't care about images, and so we are a true PaaS, platform as a service. So there is no concept of a machine. Your code could be running on 50, on 1, on 100, on 200 machines at any one time, and there's this true cloud, and there's 6 or 7 different layers in the cloud. There's HTTP caching, and there's your database, and there's a routing mesh, and there's your dynos, which are your application processing, and there's all these different pieces that are all completely dynamically changing based on the application load and performance of what's going on. So if you guys are familiar with Google App Engine, we're really, really similar to Google App Engine for Ruby. So Google App Engine, based on Python, they now have Java available. There are some differences. We focus on making it even easier to use. We give you a relational database, and so you don't have some stuff like that. But really, the closest comparable is Google App Engine. We talk with those guys a lot, actually, to talk about what's going on.
Swap stories and
exactly.
Stories. So you said Engine Yards on EC2. Who do you guys run on?
EC2 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And what do you think? First of all, two questions to end with. One is what's your business model, and then what do you see for Heroku coming up in the next year? What would you like to see in either functionality or expansion?
Yeah. So our business model is pretty easy, actually. You get started for free on Heroku. There's no charge to get started. So Heroku, we encourage you to get started, which is why we have so many apps obviously on there. We charge you when you start to scale. So as your app gets more and more popular, you pay. If you get 100,000 visitors a month, maybe you'll be paying us $100 a month. If you get 200 million visitors a month, as some of our sites do, you'll be paying us a few $1,000s a month. But that's really the way it works. There's another aspect there of, we have add-ons, which are when you come from this top-down approach the way we do, the first question people have is, but I don't have the flexibility. I need to do this. I need to do that. And add-ons are the way we address that. So we have a bunch of add-ons. You can go to addons.heroku.com and see all the add-ons we have. It's actually probably a half-hour conversation in of itself. But the point being, we also monetize around those as well. So there's a whole app catalog. There's an app store where developers can choose what they want to put into their app. Where are we going? Where do we see ourselves? So we see a lot of growth, just organic growth. We like I said, we don't need to do anything except continue to make the platform awesome, and people are coming to us and loving us. So part of it is keep the wheels on, right? We're going through this insane growth. Let's make sure we don't screw up, which you should not underestimate, right? Not screwing up is hard. There's a million ways to screw up, but only one way to do it right. So a lot of that, and then fleshing out the add-ons. So we keep growing that add-ons catalog, and then there's some interesting verticals we're going after. So, for example, being able to do a really focused solution on, hey, you're doing iPhone development. Here's integrated push notification. Here's this integrated. So all you need to do is focus on your application logic and not do anything. Or you're an enterprise. Here's this. So, really, ultimately, we want to be able to say, when an app developer comes and says, I'm creating an app, you look at that app and you say, I need, when you think about creating an app, there's 10 different things involved in creating that app, right? But only one of which makes you any money. And the rest you just need to do. We want all those things you need to do to just be there on Heroku already. So you just go click, 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 add those in, and then you can focus on just what you have to do.
Excellent. Oren Teich, thank you so much.
Thank you.